Unacademy. Let's crack it.
Today, the conflict between Israel and Palestine is a matter of great importance. What's going to happen next? What's ahead of the road? That is something we certainly don't know yet. But what is India's stand in this issue? Who should India support? To conclude that, we should go back to when it all started for India. We should analyze India's relationship with Israel and Palestine simultaneously and see who ditched us and who supported us when we Indians were in need. As soon as Hamas attacked Israel on 7th October, Indian Prime Minister Modi tweeted in support of Israel. And it is a well-known fact that Israel is one of the biggest exporter of military equipment in India, and hashtag of India stands with Israel has been trending since so long. So now it may look like India stands more on the side of Israel, but the situation was very different 75 years back. After the British left Palestine in 1948, the Arab Muslims and Jews started fighting with each other, demanding their own country. The United Nations intervened in the issue and partitioned the country into two. And there was a strong opposition for this from India since it was divided on the basis of religious terms. While the irony is that India too was divided on the basis of religion. On top of that, Mahatma Gandhi believed that Arabs were the rightful occupants of Palestine. He said in 1938, Palestine belongs to the Arab in the same sense that England belongs to the English or France to the French. So, in 1947, India's stand was against the partition of Palestine. However, partition happened and yet India refused to recognize Israel as a country. In 1949, India voted against Israel's entry into the United Nations. Then, in 1952, India's then Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, agreed to recognize Israel as a country, and we were one of the last non-Muslim countries to do so. But even then, India was not ready to establish any kind of diplomatic relationship with Israel. On the other hand, India was one of the first non-Arab countries to recognize the Palestine Liberation Organization, that is the PLO, in 1974. And when Palestine was formed as a country in 1988, India immediately recognized its formation. So, back in that time, India strongly supported Palestine over Israel. Why so? Because India wanted to show its support to the Arabs and not hurt their sentiments. Then how did things change later? What happened exactly? Israel slowly started to gain the trust of India while Arab nations lost it gradually. In 1953, Israel was granted permission to open its consulate in Bombay just for the immigration of Jews to Israel. 2 years later, in 1955, India and Indonesia organized a conference for the newly independent states. In that conference, Nehru proposed inviting Israel as a member, but the rest of the members disagreed on that. Now comes the important part. In 1962, the Indo-China War happened and the Arab nations chose to stay neutral instead of supporting us. Then, during the Indo-Pakistani War in 1965 and 71, India was in great need of support. We badly needed an ally, but the Arab nation chose to stand with Pakistan, and we all know why. But Israel, despite not having any kind of diplomatic relations with India at the time, supported us and supplied us with armaments, ammunitions, intelligence, and training. Not just that, Israel also helped India by providing secret information. Example, in 1977, Israel gave information to India about the Pakistani Kahuta uranium enrichment plant, and that saved us from a huge disaster. But all this time, the relationship between Israel and India was more of a secret affair. Right from the beginning, India unabashedly supported Palestine and refused to have any sort of official relationship with Israel. Only in 1992, 44 years after the formation of Israel, India finally established a complete diplomatic relationship with Israel by opening its embassy in the city of Tel Aviv. Since then, the two countries met eye to eye on many occasions. But even then, India never ditched Palestine and firmly stood by them. It has consistently supported the legitimate right of Palestine to have their own country. India's stance on the Israel Palestine issue has always been aligned with the United Nations resolution. In 1999, the Kargil war happened between India and Pakistan, and that was a very crucial time for us. India openly asked for help, and Israel came in support of us. They supplied us with arms and ammunition, and that played a significant role in our victory. But even then, India never ditched Palestine. In 2008, to show its support to Palestine, India gifted a costly land in New Delhi's elite area for the construction of Palestinian embassy. Fast forward to 2014, during the Israel-Gaza conflict, India helped both the parties responsible for igniting violence and asked Israel to stop the disproportionate use of force in Gaza. It may seem like India picked a side and supported Palestine over Israel. But during the Rajya Sabha session, our former External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj made it clear that India has friendly relations with both Israel and Palestine. When the United Nations Human Rights Council report accusing Israel of war crimes was put out to vote, 5 countries refused to vote. So gladly, India was one of them. Since PM Modi came to power, India's relationship with Israel has been stronger and sounder. In 2017, Narendra Modi became the first ever Prime Minister to visit Israel, and he was welcomed by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin, and they both went for a beach walk. PM Modi visited the War Memorial, Jewish Museum, and signed multiple MOUs with Israel, but did not visit Palestine then. To add fuel to the fire, Israeli Prime Minister visited India in 2018 and flight kites with Prime Minister Modi. But, as usual, India wants to maintain its balance. So, within a month, in February 2018, Prime Minister Modi visited West Bank, the Palestinian land, and there he was awarded the title of the Grand Caller of Palestine. During this visit, PM Modi made an agreement to set up an Indian-Palestine super specialty hospital in Palestine for $30 million and a new printing press for $5 million. Now, coming to the current day scenario, when Hamas attacked Israel, India stood with Israel and said Israel has all the right to defend itself, and that was indeed a very bold step. And when a hospital was bombed in Gaza, which killed around 500 people, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is one of the few who voiced out immediately. He tweeted, "Deeply shocked at the tragic loss of lives at the Al-Hali Hospital in Gaza. Heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and our prayers for speedy recovery of those injured. Civilian casualties in the ongoing conflict are a matter of serious and continuing concern. Those in war should be held responsible. On one hand, India supports Israel's right to defend itself, and on the other hand, it continues to send humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza." Why so? Why does India refuse to take a stand on this crucial time? Why does India still want to maintain its balance between Israel and Palestine? Because India is in a need to maintain good relationship with Arab nations. In the G20 summit that happened recently, the India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor project was signed, and that holds significant geopolitical and economic implications for our country. On the other hand, India still considers the attack on Israel by Hamas to be terrorism, which is something India also has been facing from Pakistan for a very long time now. So India can somewhat relate with Israel. On top of everything, Israel stood with India in tough times, so it will not be fair to ditch them when they are in need. So what should India do? Well, here is our opinion. It is good for India to maintain the neutral stance until the conflict stays between Israel and Hamas. Apart from the political view, we should also look at the economic effects on India, even though there are not any short-term effects due to the ongoing war. There are points which can be ruled out. It might affect India if the situation worsens. The Middle East is one of the major oil suppliers to the entire world. If day-to-day life is getting disturbed in that region, it's going to lead to a considerable spike in oil prices, and that's going to result in high inflation in the society. If the oil price remains elevated, the production cost of almost all the products will get raised, and that is directly going to affect the common people. And there are high chances where this conflict could lead to depreciation of Indian rupees. And let's not forget, Israel is one of the biggest exporters of military equipment in India, with the military business between the two countries worth around $2.1 billion. And India is Israel's second largest trading partner in Asia and seventh largest globally. In the last 22 years, India invested 383 million US dollars in Israel. On the other hand, Israel also directly invested 385 million US dollars. On the opposite side, India's trade with Saudi Arabia reached an all-time high of $52.75 million in the financial year 2023. Now India is the second largest trading partner of Saudi Arabia, and let's not forget, India's trade with the Arab world has already crossed an all-time high of $240 billion a year. 70% of our energy imports are coming from Arab countries, and 4.5 million Indians are living there. So India right now is in a very delicate position. So what should India stand with? It is not that easy to make a decision. If the situation worsens, where the other major countries gang up against Israel, we think that then it would be India's duty to stand with Israel, because India owes it to them. They firmly stood by us when we were in a crisis. So it will be India's time to stand with them in their tough times, as it also would be a morally right decision. However, if the situation worsens, if we are ever pushed to stick to a side, no matter which side we are picking, it is going to affect us economically. If we stand by Palestine, we would lose our good ties with Israel, and they are not going to take it lightly because they stood by us when we were in need, and they would obviously expect us to do the same. If we choose to support Israel over Palestine, then that is going to affect our Arab nations who strongly support Palestine. And also, that might mess up our trading relationship with them. Dr. Jaishankar recently said, terrorism is unacceptable, but a solution to the Palestinian land is also a must. We stand by that. Well, what do you think? Who should India support? Israel or Palestine? Do let us know in the comment section.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.